You've seen countless times these people running into dangerous situations, risking their lives, digging through rubble to save civilians in the Syrian conflict. Now we know that Israel and Jordan, they've come to the rescue of the White Helmets.
This group of 800 Syrian civilians, including members of the volunteer rescue group, have been evacuated now, we are told, to Jordan. Israel says its military completed this effort at the request of the U.S. and European countries.
Let's get the latest live in Jerusalem. CNN's Oren Lieberman on the story this hour. And Oren, the civilians and the White Helmets, they are now safely out of Syria. Are we hearing any news, any reaction to this new breaking news we're following?
We absolutely are. And as you said, this was an international effort to arrange this operation, an incredibly sensitive operation, as is anything between Israel and Syria, humanitarian or otherwise. The Canadian Foreign Ministry had already put out a release thanking everyone for the rescue efforts, thankful that the White Helmets had been rescued from an increasingly perilous situation. And now we're seeing the UK Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. He just put out a statement on social media. He called it fantastic news and said the White Helmets are the bravest of the brave. And that gives you an idea of how important this operation was, not only to the White Helmets themselves, to those civilians who were brought out from Syria to Israel to Jordan, but to the international community. It's been the White Helmets, their videos, their efforts, their outreach that has shown the world what was happening in the Syrian civil war. The White Helmets have been at work for a number of years now through the course of the civil war. They say they are some 4,000 strong in Syria and have saved more than 100,000 lives. And that gives you an idea of how important they are. This rescue effort going out throughout the night, 800, as you mentioned, civilians, a number of them White Helmets, taken from Israel to Jordan. That's where they are now, where they'll be for a few months before they're transferred to Western countries like England, France, and Canada, where they will have finally now some safe haven.
Oren, you know, it's still a developing story. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot by asking, but do we have any sense of understanding the timing of this? Why now?
Well, the area they were in, this is southern Syria, is one of the last areas in that region that the Syrian regime hasn't taken over. But the Syrian regime, with the help of the Russians, was closing in on them, meaning the White Helmets, who are civilian volunteer rescue workers, were in essentially a dangerous situation and needed to get out for their own safety. Remember, the Syrians and the Russians both consider the White Helmets terrorist organizations, even though that designation is rejected entirely by the vast majority of the international community. But it's because the Syrians and the Russians were closing in that they needed a way out. We know from Washington and diplomats there that there has been an international effort over the last few days to try to put together some sort of operation. We have now seen overnight now the fruition of those efforts as they were evacuated into Israel and then into Jordan. And then those Western countries that have watched the White Helmets, helped them, in many cases funded them, will now take them in for their own safety.
It's also interesting to point out civilians taken to several other countries. The United States not among those listed, though part of this effort requesting that they be evacuated from Syria. So we'll continue to follow it. Oren Lieberman live for us in Jerusalem. Thank you for your reporting today.